Hey guys, back with another video, a review on a phone game. Yes, I've never done this. I stay away from phone games because, in my opinion, most of them just aren't very good, and a lot of them are just purely made to suck money from you. But I found a good one, actually, and it's Final Fantasy Record Keeper. Now, I had heard about Final Fantasy All the Bravest, and for a while I thought this was that game. And that is like this game filled with microtransactions. It is just disgusting, and it's barely a game. It's really terrible. But Record Keeper, I had no idea about this game, and it actually kind of surprised me. It's a really good game for a phone game. It's not amazing, but it's a good time waster. And I know, you know, a lot of people play games on their phones nowadays, but I really think this is probably the best you can get, other than maybe like Hearthstone. But it's the kind of game that's really fun to play like 30 minutes to an hour or two a day. It's a good like multitasking game to play it while you're playing other games or watching TV or a movie or something like that. But yeah, let's talk about the game. It's free. I guess I should say that out of the way. You can download this like right now for iOS and Android. The footage here, I'm using like an Android emulator, and actually I play it a lot on an Android emulator too. But basically, this is not going to be like my typical reviews. It's not going to be really in a certain format. I'm just gonna kind of ramble, I guess. It's going to be a quick review, but it basically, I guess I'll explain what the game's like, what you do. You have a party of 5 characters, like in a classic Final Fantasy game, and you've got the side view, like in Final Fantasy 1, the very first Final Fantasy game, and you play through turn-based battles. You basically go through dungeons, and each dungeon has a few different rounds, and each round is a few different enemies. And it's like you're playing Final Fantasy 1. You've got the active time battle system in there too, where you have your meters that you gotta watch out for, and you're able to attack when your meter fills up, and then enemies can attack you. You've got your skills are fairly limited. It's not like a full-fledged Final Fantasy game where you have like a ton of skills. Like there's a bunch of skills you can use, but a character can only equip a certain amount. I think it's up to 4. And then you can get like a soul break, which is kind of like your limit break that just can come up sometimes that you can equip. And different equipment can give you different soul breaks. And you basically equip weapons and armor on your character. You know, you unlock characters by going through these dungeons and also doing event dungeons. There's kind of story dungeons and then there's event dungeons. And for the story dungeons, you kind of go down a chart. And I'll show some gameplay so you can see what it looks like. And there's a few paths, a few branching paths, but it's generally fairly linear, and it's basically like Final Fantasy Greatest Hits. You go through all these dungeons from different games, and they give you like little story snippets at the beginning of each dungeon. You're fighting a bunch of enemies and bosses from every Final Fantasy game, and the music in this game is fantastic. It's music from all the Final Fantasy games. If you're playing a Final Fantasy VIII dungeon, you'll hear like the Final Fantasy VIII battle theme, and you'll hear some other songs from Final Fantasy VIII in the menus. It's really, like, the flavor of this game is fantastic. If you love Final Fantasy, I think you'll really enjoy this. You can also like kind of click on the enemy you want to attack and then use a spell, and that's how you kind of target enemies. There's also an auto battle, which is very useful. You have a wandering hero feature where you basically can take like they can go up to like level 80 characters. You can like take 2 or 1 of them on a dungeon, and you can use the wandering hero twice per dungeon, and you can spend like a mithril crystal to kind of restore your health and wandering heroes and all your abilities, because abilities have uses that you have to watch out for. And these heroes do really powerful attacks, and you kind of need them in the early game because the game starts out fairly difficult. Your characters are probably going to die pretty quickly until you get like a 5-star weapon. There's like a loot component to this game. You want to be going for like the 5-star weapons. Like they're very strong. So there's kind of like this loot chest that you can kind of do once per day and then spend mithril to open and try to get rare items. Mithril you get from doing the dungeons and then doing some like quests that you can take on. Well, they're kind of like passive quests, sort of. It'll be like it'll be like upgrade a weapon to level 10 or whatever, and then you'll get like a mithril for that, but that quest will be done permanently. And mithril is used to get these like crazy good loot drops, where if you get, say, about 50 mithril, you can get like a crazy chest opening thing, and you'll get like a bunch of different weapons. It's a 3-star. You'll get at least a 3-star or higher. So a good thing to do is actually save your mithril. Of course, there are microtransactions in this game. Being a free game, you can obviously pay real money for mithril and I think gems. I haven't looked at that stuff too much, because really you can get a lot out of this game just playing it for free. Now, there is a stamina system in this game, and this is the one thing I'm sort of mixed on. You can kind of make it so that you can keep playing over and over, but basically you'll start with a certain amount of stamina, and doing a dungeon will consume a certain amount of stamina. And if you don't have enough stamina, you won't be able to do dungeons. But most dungeons will give you a stamina crystal at the end, which will kind of extend your maximum stamina as well as refill all of your stamina. So if you're smart with how you do dungeons and kind of alternate between the event dungeons and the story dungeons, you can play for extended periods of time. But I guess it's not that big of a deal to me, because it's not the type of game I would play for like hours on end. I was fairly addicted to it at first, but after a while I kind of started to only come back to it like maybe 10 to 30 minutes a day, because there's plenty of good like login rewards. I'm trying to think. I mean, that's about it with the game. I mean, there's some upgrading systems as well that aren't terribly in-depth, but they're cool. You can obviously upgrade your weapons and armor, and you can get like gems or orbs. And these are what get you different skills. You basically kind of make skills at a shop with these orbs. If you have like a bunch of like greater holy orbs, I'm trying to get like 8 greater holy orbs right now, so I can get the raise spell, so I can actually resurrect my guys when they die. It's really hard to get, actually, that spell. It's kind of odd how long it takes, but I'm kind of working towards that. But you have all these spells that you can basically get with all your orbs. You can kind of like break down bigger orbs to get smaller ones. You can get growth eggs to easily level up your characters. And it's really fun just unlocking all these characters from classic Final Fantasy games. And it's all in like well, actually it looks like it's 16-bit. It's all in like 16-bit graphics, which is nice to see. So yeah, I mean, that's about it. Give it a shot, honestly. It kind of surprised me. I was not expecting it to be as good as it is, and I'm not saying it's like an amazing game. It's obviously not going to compare to an actual Final Fantasy game, although I think I actually probably still like it better than like Final Fantasy 3. But if you're a Final Fantasy fan or just looking for something to play on your phone, you could do far worse than this, I would say. But that's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.